Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our November 7, 2019 City Council meeting. We have folks in our city family who are experiencing some health issues and some familial distress. So I would ask that you particularly keep in your best thoughts, wishes, and prayers our own Brad Hawkins, who continues to recover. He's been out of our working links for about 2 months now, but we hear he's going to come back next week, so that's good. That's a good sign. And Don Nestor is back with the foot infection thing again. He's also been hospitalized, a longtime member of our city water board. Let's keep Brad and Don especially in our best thoughts, wishes, and prayers this evening.
David, I want to say also about Ron Pugh. He's up at Ruby and running through a bunch of tests. He fell down about a week and a half ago and had some extensive issues from that, especially since he fell down about 5-6 years ago and almost ended his life at that time. So I think he's going to be there maybe through the weekend.
We'll add Mr. Pugh to the mix as well. Moment of silence. Thank you very much. And on the cusp of Veterans Day, one of our female veterans and one of my current business law students, Ms. McCoy, would you be so kind as to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. It's a nice full room this evening. We have a number of guests. First off, let's dispatch our college students. We have, 8 or 10 students from Wesleyan. Our tradition is that students stand, face the camera, and tell us your name, your major course of study at the college, and your hometown. So who would like to start? Right here in the front row. How about you, sir?
I'm Leo White. I'm a business administration, and I'm from Weston.
My name is Noah Berthelsel. My major is sport business, and I'm from Hurricane, West Virginia.
My name is Lindsay Pratt. I'm an arts administration major, and I'm from Beckley, West Virginia.
I'm Christy DePoy. I'm a business admin major, and I'm from Rock Cave, West Virginia.
Eric Forbrick. My major is exercise science, and I'm from Orlando, Florida.
Hi, my name is Victor Medellin. My major is sports business, and I'm from Reynosa, Mexico.
My name is Javier Leonia. I'm a business administration major, and I'm from Madrid, Spain.
I'm Connor Hartwell. I'm from London, England, and my major is school business.
I'm Luis Diaz. I'm a marketing major, and I'm from Los Angeles, California.
I'm Nikamona Solite. I'm from Georgia, the country, and my major is business administration.
I'm Savannah Watts. I'm a marketing major. I'm from Charleston.
And little Laura Meadows. Oh, I'm sorry. Get past your first college kid again. I was getting ready. There's a gentleman in my class from the nation of Georgia. He said, I got a brother in Atlanta, but that's not very funny. Okay. First up, the recognized guest, and then we've got a couple of folks who have signed up this evening to address council. Mr. Al Tucker is going to tell us all about this year's calendar and the band of brothers. Al, I wanted 10, and CJ told you I would take 15, I see. So I'll have to sell 5 at $20 to make up the difference.
He got them now, Al. He's a great customer. He knows how to market for me, so I appreciate that, CJ. First of all, thanks again for letting me come here this evening. Another year, it's about four years or so that you've let me come, and I just want to say on behalf of the folks that we have helped in Clay, Kanawha, Webster, Wetzel County, Dow, And even this past summer with the floods up at Harmon, folks up at Randolph County. And so it's been absolutely amazing, the outpouring of generosity in this community that we've had these past few years, be able to do the work that we've been able to do. I do one little sidelight. Had a fellow contact me, sent me an email and said, Al, I'd like to come down and meet you. Like to look around Buckhannon and see where you live and that sort of thing. I used to do a newsletter for our local camera club here, and it was a photography, kind of online photography magazine, and people would send in photos, and this individual is from Fairfax, Virginia. His name's Spencer. And so a few years ago, when we first started doing the calendars, he started to buy one. He's not from West Virginia. And then last year, heard about the work that we were doing in McDowell County, and he bought a calendar and sent a check for $500. And it's absolutely amazing, I thought. And so Tuesday, he drove down, and I met him down at the Bicentennial Inn and at the restaurant there at 88, and we chatted a little bit. And next morning, we got up early and went over to Tudor's and had breakfast. And I took him through Upshur, Webster, Randolph, Fiddler's Mill, took him down to Mullan's Mill, came back up around through Helvetia, and he absolutely loved the area. As we were going down towards Adrian, there had been a deer hit, and he said, Al, I got to stop and pull it off the road. And so he stopped and he pulled that deer off the road, and lo and behold, a DNR person came up and they loaded it into a truck. Her truck. And so he said, that was really, really great that stopped at that particular time. I said, well, there's a wildlife center down here, and they probably will feed that to the lions or the cougars down there. Well, he works nationally with the Cougar Foundation. And so at the end of the day, we stopped at the wildlife center, and they were actually feeding that deer kill to the cougars. And so he was ecstatic. He can't wait to come back next spring with his wife and visit. And so just another person from out of town through the camera club, coming and looking at our great town. He just absolutely loved the courthouse down there. So
Great sharing. Thanks, Al.
yeah, so I thought that was pretty neat. Well, this year we're staying close to home. We're going to try to take care of some youth in Upshur County. And, you see a calendar. I don't see a calendar. I see a kid in need. It could be some orphan on a trash dump site living in a shanty that needs a blanket. And the missionary that went there was able to provide some blankets based on the money that we provided. I see a kid out there somewhere in Upshur County that doesn't get to eat on a weekend because maybe the backpack program doesn't cover him. I see grandmothers. There's so many grandmothers taking care of their children in this county and throughout the state. And these struggle, they're on fixed incomes. And so really excited, we're going to help that program with this year's calendar project. A project really close to home is soccer. I don't have any kids. All these people we help are my kids. And I was over talking with Deborah, and she was telling me some things that where we potentially could help. And one of the things she mentioned, well, we have a basketball program, and we like to do scholarships for kids that can't afford to participate. And man, that just hit right here, because I was that kid. I was that kid that grew up with a family. My dad was a janitor, worked 2 jobs, and we didn't have the money for that sort of thing. To know that some kid could go play basketball because we sold a few calendars just really excites me. So that's the work we're all about, and we're all about Upshur County this year. They're $15 a piece. There's flyers around. I travel anywhere to sell these calendars. So I am proud to do. I'm proud to say that, as I said at the beginning, the people of Buckhannon, Upshur County have helped us do so much. And so we're going to try to do it for our own this year. So, thank you very much.
We appreciate you. Thank you, Al. Entire group, Al.
All 5.
All right.
It's always a terrific calendar. It's got the 12 months on the back of it that you can see. Yeah, all 12. So only in 2020 are we featuring all 12.
Mayor, I'll just say one more thing.
Sure, Al.
January's photo is Southern Upshur County. And I wasn't sure when I was getting it printed over at Ralston's, and he was saying, okay, Al, have you checked this? And I said, yeah, I have. And then I said, well, was that? Because it's real close to the Lewis County line. So I drove down there. There's a couple of houses where there's nobody at the houses. So I was driving out by the barn to turn around, and a lady was coming the other way. And so I kind of waved her down, and I said, is this Upshur County? And she said, yeah, right here is Upshur County, but right over there is Lewis County. And I said, well, thanks. I really appreciate that, because we've got a calendar that we sell. And I kind of lifted it up, and she says, where can I get one of those calendars? I said, I think you came to the right place. Thank you.
Thanks again, Al. Next up is the Middle C Vets Free Guitar Workshop for Vets program. Who wants to address council about that?
Good evening. And thanks for having us in. I'm Patrick Brooks of Middle C Vets. They are a band of veterans. I am not, but I love music, been playing music all my life. And here about 3 years ago, I started working with Guitars for Vets out of Clarksburg, VA. That collapsed. They pulled that out of the state. So, with the help of Bill Durante, KJ Woody of Wayside Baptist Church, we started our own program. We've got this program going pretty well. You guys, if you would stand up, these are some of the veterans that we have. These guys have played at the Wayside Baptist Church last Sunday night. They played the Jacksonville Jubilee. December 20th, we're going to be playing at the Senior Center here in Buckhannon. But we have a new class starting January 3rd. It's an 8-week class, and we need as many veterans in as we can possibly get. It is absolutely free, and it's about brotherhood. So any assistance and any help and any ideas, we welcome you for sure.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Next up is Laura Meadows with the Upshur County CVB. Laura?
She's got calendars too.
How many months do you seriously have?
I'm going to give council members a copy first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think so. And I've got magazines there too. Y'all can just pass them out. Councilman Skinner said I had 5 minutes.
Right.
Councilwoman Almost said I have 20. So I did not. I'll be quick, I promise. No, so we always present an annual report to City Council and the County Commission, but it was suggested that we just try to be a little bit more open of what we're doing and how active we are throughout the year. So we wanted to start providing quarterly reports to all of our funding partners. So this is our quarterly report that covers the months of July through September of 2019. I'm not going to read it all to you. But our organization, our main purpose is to advertise, promote, and really just get the word out there about Buckhannon and Upshur County to the visitors. We don't necessarily see our advertisements running in Buckhannon because that's not our target market. We want people from outside of Buckhannon to, experience our town, just like Al was talking about people from Fairfax, Virginia. Once people are here, they really kind of fall in love with it. So that's our main mission and our main purpose. So our traditional forms of advertising is just through our website, and you can see all of our stats for the first quarter. Just maintaining our website is kind of a feat of its own. There's always something changing. I try to go in there about on a weekly basis and update things and make any edits or corrections. We have all of our social media channels. We have all of the free posts that we complete throughout the weeks and the days. And then we also do a lot of paid advertising through social media. So you can see where our stats are with that as far as people who've seen our ads, people who have actually engaged with our ads. We also do a lot of online advertising campaigns. We work a lot with West Virginia Living, a company called Madden Media. We participate in the state co-op partnership program where the state tourism office will basically reduce the cost of an ad and we will partner together to kind of cover a general message about Buckhannon. We've worked with My Buckhannon on some sponsored stories. Those have been super successful. And then there's a publication called Highland Outdoors that we advertise with. And these are just some partners that we worked with specifically in this first quarter, but we have a long list of other people who we actively work with as the seasons change and as different opportunities become available. The online ads, you know, sometimes it's just the traditional little banner ad that you see along the top or on the side, but a lot of the shift in advertising is really connected to sponsored stories. So people don't really want to see an ad. You see an ad and everybody can recognize an ad and they glance right over it. People really want to find a connection. They want a story. They want to find something that's super authentic. So we found that sponsored stories can really convey that and really kind of open that door for people to experience our community. Of course, print advertising, it's certainly still a strong market for us, so we have a lot of print ads that are continually running. And you know, I've been telling people you have to pay for those print ads to get those free editorial spaces. I think it's really important because, you know, these publications are looking for partners, and if they know that you're going to be a standing partner that's spending the money with them to keep their operation running, whenever they come up with some new stories, they're going to reach out to those people who are advertising. So it's definitely something that we've invested in, and it's been very successful for us. And then we also have our traditional email marketing campaigns to where we just have e-newsletters that go out once a month to our listserv. So in the first quarter, you see we sent nearly 1,400 emails to just a variety of people about what's happening in Buckhannon. So that's kind of our traditional advertising outlets. But on top of that, you know, we will work with anybody and everybody. So if there's a community organization, if there's a community group, a business that wants to partner with us or they have an idea, we're more than willing to jump out there and see what we can do to help. So I've put a few different examples. The West Virginia Art Educators hosted their annual conference in Buckhannon in October. And a local coordinator reached out to our office and she said, what can we do? So we put together just a one-page overview that was distributed to all of the conference attendees. And it just gave them an overview of, hey, while you're in Buckhannon, here's what you can do. In addition to that, we share our office space with the Chamber. The Chamber and Visitor Center will put together packets of information so they can take home a little folder with coupons, flyers, brochures, menus, all that type of stuff. So that's something we actively do. So people just have to call and ask us, and we're happy to work with them. We always partner with Wesleyan. We go to the Bobcat Fair. We go to different seminars that they host. I do a networking class for their We Lead program. We host a service scholar at our office every semester, the event center. Sometimes we'll pick up an intern. So we have a really strong partnership with Wesleyan. Again, how we work with local organizations and local events. The city's Fall Fest event. We work with that committee and we coordinate a walking dinner tour. We produce little cards that are distributed to all of the elementary school students. This year we distributed 2,000 little cards that went out to all the students so they could see, you know, what's going on for Fall Fest, inviting them to come down. The walking dinner tour has been really successful, and I've been letting people know we're going to start doing that on a quarterly basis. So last year we did it for Fall Fest. We did it again this year, but January, February or so, we'll do another edition of a walking dinner tour. So it's been really popular. People really liked it, and they're really small. I think we had 30 tickets this past time, and I had a waiting list for people who wanted to participate. So if we can do that 4 times a year, I think we can get a decent group of people. We always attend any kind of tourism conference or anything that's relevant to our organization. We're networking with outside organizations and businesses and learning from other people. We're always distributing our travel guide, and not just the Upshur County travel guide that our organization produces, but we also will distribute any partner pieces. So the Strawberry Festival, Festival Fridays, the Wildlife Center, Ron Hinkle Blast, we keep all of those in stock in our office, and we distribute them as they're needed. And we're running low on office space and storage space, so I've got like a wall of boxes in my office, and I just throw a tablecloth over it, and nobody knows that it's there. So we always have literature in our office for sure. And then we work with outside organizations to secure conference space. We always love for it if it's at the event center, but if it's not even at the event center and they're working with another venue, we're always, again, willing to help and make that a seamless process for them. So just briefly going into the event center, because that's another department of the Convention and Visitors Bureau, it's every single day is something new. It's absolutely amazing what you learn whenever you're just you're learning as you go. So the success of the event center has been really phenomenal the past couple of years. Sean, who's our event center manager, he said whenever he came on board, he thinks we had 12 to 15 events throughout the course of a year. Well, in our first quarter, from July through September, we had 18 events. And whenever I was putting this report together, at first I thought 18 events doesn't really sound like that much. But whenever you think of, we have one full-time staff person who's physically at each event. They answer every single question about that event. They are communicating with every single person. I mean, he is in-depthly involved with each event. It really is a lot of work for one person to do. We do have a staff of some part-time employees that have come on board and they help as needed. But it's 18 events in the first quarter is a pretty big one. And we also like to point out we only had 9 available weekends within that first quarter because we do share space with the National Guard. So they're using that space 1 weekend a month. So 18 events, 9 available weekends. I thought it was pretty good. We do have a grant program with the Event Center, so if there's a nonprofit organization who wants to host something in the Event Center, but funds are always tight, they can apply for a grant and we can reduce that cost for them. Sean has worked with the Mountaineer Food Bank and the recruiter at the Readiness Center at our facility to coordinate the Mountaineer Food Bank. So if you've driven past the Event Center whenever that's happening, I'm both proud and I'm also really sad that we have to have that type of service. But there's hundreds upon hundreds of cars that are coming through and just being loaded up with healthy groceries. But Sean helps assist that and make sure that everything's smooth and seamless at the facility. And we did an estimate that within the first quarter we had approximately 500 plus guests that came in and out of the facility through all the events that we held, and probably an approximated 120 overnight stays directly connected to things that were happening at the event center. So super successful. It's always growing. It's always something new, but we're happy with it. I do have a quick financial snapshot of our organization. Again, this was in our first quarter from July through September. And I kind of gave a quick breakdown of CVB versus the Event Center just to kind of give you an idea of where we stand on things. I gave this presentation to County Commission, and I think the first thing everybody sees is that everything's in the red right now in that first quarter, which doesn't typically worry me just because, we do see that our hotel motel tax is down, which is funding us. But that's, it's expected. You do your best at guessing, but whenever you see that revenue being down a little bit, we just make some adjustments. No worries whatsoever. The first quarter of our year is always super busy because I'm allocating advertising dollars that will line out some of the ad spaces that we're going to secure for upcoming quarters. So sometimes we have to pay for those up front. So it definitely makes us watch our finances a little bit more and adjust it, but certainly nothing that hasn't happened before. So everything's pretty typical, but you can see just in the first quarter we spent just a little less than $10,000 of advertising alone in Upshur County. But yeah, that's like I said, very brief financial snapshot. And then I'll also just point out, you can kind of leaf through there, but these are some examples of the ads that we ran in the first quarter. And I also put the price tag on a few of these because I think it's important for people to know, you know, a full-page ad in West Virginia Living Magazine isn't cheap. But again, it's one of those investments that we kind of put out there because we've seen whenever we advertise with them, we get a lot of other feedback and partnership from their end as well. So West Virginia Living, Highland Outdoors, they focus specifically on outdoor recreation within the state. Recreation News, they have a listserv of federal DC workers in the DC market, so they distribute to them, and you know they're just a short drive away, so we have a direct connection with them. You can see examples of some of our Facebook posts, some of the free PR stuff that we gave out to the art educators whenever their conference came through, and then some of the work that we did in partnership with the city's Fall Fest. Do y'all have any questions? I tried to run through that really quick.
Questions for Laura?
You did a good job.
Tammy's back there too. Is she allowed to answer questions if we have any?
Oh, absolutely, she knows.
We appreciate the peddling of our old place, so keep up the good work.
They do a great job. They really do.
Thank you.
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next guest is, well, Laura, do you want to tell us about this award that I think Lindsay, who else? It's
Chris Richards.
Chris.
Make
Sorry
it
about
easy
that.
on you.
Yeah.
I'm here. I wear several hats. I'm the actual director at the Lewis County Convention and Visitors Bureau. But I'm also the president of the State Association of Convention and Visitors Bureaus, otherwise known as the West Virginia Convention and Visitors Bureau, Association of Convention and Visitors Bureaus. And we have an accreditation program, and the WVA-CVB, everything's an acronym, has a high standard for CVBs throughout the state to become accredited, proving that they follow the strict guidelines of best practices the association has for promoting tourism in their communities. They go through a little bit of a grilling process. It's a lot of information. It's a hard job to fill out the application and provide all the information to back up all of your answers. Accredited CVBs are proven good stewards of the hotel motel tax while partnering with their local businesses to promote and market in a fashion that betters tourism in their areas. These are some things that we require in the accreditation process. We look over their marketing materials, we look over their websites, we make sure they respond to requests for information in a timely fashion. So it is a very huge honor to be accredited by our association. And that's why I'm here tonight, is to present Miss Laura with the Upshur County Convention and Visitors Bureau accreditation plaque. And she is officially accredited for the next 3 years.
Super.
Mayor, why don't you get there with us?
You're on the board.
Callie's just trying to get
I want one of those.
Oh, yeah. Mary's on our board.
Okay, I'm on the board.
You don't mind to look at me? 1, 2, 3.
Too many girls.
Yeah. That's how we get things. That's girl power.
They're not done.
Okay.
Thank you.
Where'd you come from?
That's right.
Got it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for coming over. Appreciate
Thank you.
it. Thank you. Congratulations. Congratulations.
And I do enjoy working on that board.
Going to head off to the office and nail that thing to the wall as we speak.
There.
When we get to that point, you want me to turn that over to you, Mary?
You mean the bets?
Yeah. Yeah. Can I get to the other guest on the regular agenda first, and then we'll do that next? Next up is Captain Glenn Davis. He's going to receive his promotional pinning, and I'm going to turn it over to Chief Kimball.
Good evening, everybody.
All right.
You want to come up? We're here again tonight for another organizational first. As we go through our, as I've said before, the accreditation process, we're finding some faults in our organization as we go, and we're trying to correct those. Throughout the years I've been in the fire department, the 30 years I've been there, in the past, your rank was based on how many years you've been at the fire department. When somebody in a rank resigned from the volunteer ranks or the career staff, somebody just stepped into that position. But as we went on through civil service, the career staff, it's a testing policy. There's classes you're required to have and time and grade in other ranks. So we are mirroring that into our volunteer ranks also. So no matter what the call is, if there's a captain there, that person is a captain to the same abilities of every other, whether you're career or volunteer. And tonight is the first. Captain Glenn Davis was the first one to take the civil service exam with all the requirements. And tonight we're going to pin him to the rank. He was a lieutenant to the rank of captain. A little bit about Glenn. He has over 20 years at our organization. He is a mentor to all. He's a hazmat tech. He's a scuba diver. He's a firefighter 1 and 2 certified firefighter. He's a fire officer 1 and 2 certified. He is a safety officer, and he is very knowledgeable. And the thing about everybody will say about Glenn Davis, he is one of the safest people we have in our organization. And I'm here very proud of him. Did very well on the test. So tonight, Dr. Kim Ferry, his wife, will pin him, and I'm proud of him. Thank you. Appreciate it. Stick it in his chest and then have to work on it. Just a little, also, we are the only fire department in the state of West Virginia that I know of that actually civil service tests their volunteer ranks now. So that is another first, which is a big step. So, need help? You're in, right?
He starts moving.
If I make it the first one, Captain.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Can you get a picture?
Where did you want the picture, baby? Here in front of us.
Here, I'm the short. Yeah. Let me get in front. What's up here?
White shirt in the middle.
Randy, you go ahead and order now.
Yeah, right.
You're good at it.
Well.
All right, so why don't we have you be in front of the
Chief.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Congratulations. Thank you.
I didn't go see either one. Sorry. Get closer. Okay, that's it. Gonna be real quick.
Close enough?
1, 2, 3. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah. Just produced 2 shows.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Good job. Thank you.
Thanks, fellas. Appreciate it.
I had chocolate before I walked in the
Good night, Mary.
Next up is Christy DePoy and Lindsay Pratt, who are going to tell us about the Women's Veterans Resource Fair.
We are hosting a Women's Veterans Resource Fair. We're working with District DAB and the American Legion, and on the 23rd of November from 10 to 3 at the American Legion in Buckhannon. We're just going to have a day for women veterans to come, and we're going to have people from the VA with enrollment and eligibility, women's health, military sexual trauma, suicide prevention and awareness, people from the Vet Center, service officer, and then from Buckhannon, we're going to have St. Joseph's Hospital, the West Virginia Department of Health and Human Services, and Women's Aid in Crisis. And over the years, we've had men have more things in the VA system, that the programs are catered more to them and not toward women. But as time goes on, they're realizing that women veterans need specialized care, and so they're coming out more and more with more specialized programs, like an actual women's healthcare system where they can go and see a women provider to take care of their needs. So we're just trying to start a day where we can get that information to them, and hopefully if we have enough people that come out, we can inspire our surrounding counties to maybe start having the same kind of events. So if you guys know a woman veteran, please pass the word along, and so we can get them the information.
And that's just for Upshur County?
Yes, well, it's for anybody in the surrounding areas, Upshur County, Lewis County, Randolph County, anybody surrounding areas that want to come.
Saturday, November 23,
Yes.
at the American Legion building,
Yes.
from 10 to 3.
Yes.
It's going to be great resources for female veterans, which we don't get that. And I know that because I'm a female veteran.
Yeah.
Okay? And so is she. Are you? Okay. Thank you.
If we could sign you up.
We also have extra flyers if there's anyone in the audience that would like to take one and post one somewhere.
We'll put one of these out front in the foyer at City Hall. That'll make it a little bit. Any questions for Christy or Lindsay?
We have extra.
Okay.
Thank you.
Appreciate your efforts.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
Let's see, we got,
The vets are gone.
they didn't stick around?
They went away. I went out. That's why I went out. They're fine. They're good.
Evelyn Siskey wants to talk about cats at the college.
Well, I'm not going to demo comment. If you don't mind, I'm just going to stay here. I'm
That's
going to be
fine.
very brief.
Sure.
I was just over at the college, and I happened to notice that there's starting to be a colony of cats again. And I observed about 10, and I noticed that there's starting to be a lot of black cats, which is an indicator to me that they're starting to reproduce, which means they're not being spayed and neutered. And I was wondering if there's a TNR service in Upshur County.
Yeah, there is.
I would just hate to see all of them have a colony of 32 and keep multiplying. And I don't know whose attention I should bring it to.
Well, we have an Animal Care and Control Commission, and there was a massive colony there about a year and a half ago.
32.
They were relocated.
Oh, they were?
Yeah. There are farmers that love cats in their barns because they help keep the rodent population down and those kind of things, and that's where that colony was relocated to. So we'll put Mr. Walmsley, who deals with cats, on to the issue. That's the first I've heard about this.
Okay, yeah, there was a man that was feeding them. So there is a spot where they feed a couple places by the river. I'm just concerned. I hate to see the cats freeze to death in the winter. You know, I just hate to see them taken care of.
We'll refer it to Mr. Jeff Walmsley, who deals with cats, and also put it on the agenda for our next Animal Care and Control Commission meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, is there anybody else who wanted to address council that I'm missing out on? We had so many guests here tonight. I think I've recognized everybody that wanted to address council. That takes us down to our department and board reports, and first up is our information coordinator and grant writer researcher, Callie Cronin-Sands. Callie, how's it going?
Hi, great. How are you?
Very well.
I
have the report in your packet on our social media and website activity as well as grant activity. And we'll start out with our press releases and our website and social media. Just wanted to say one of the most recent ones we put out was Councilwoman Buckhannon came to my office and wanted to let everyone know, especially business owners, to please help create an Adventure in Toyland theme downtown this holiday season. So we do have those applications for downtown businesses can come in and fill that out. And I think they'd like those returned by December 6th for our downtown decorating committee. So we have that information is out on the web. The form is on the website as well. So we encourage all of our businesses to participate in that theme. Of course, we've had information out. Tomorrow evening is the Stalkers Elimination Dinner, so we have information about that and how you can get tickets. And I think they had pretty much sold out on that. They might have a ticket here or there, but like I heard,
I've got some with me now.
Yep. Okay, there you go. Pam's got some.
Yep.
We also wanted to share how happy and proud that we are to be highlighted so prominently in the West Virginia Development, our community development's latest publication on community development innovation. So we had some posts about that, sharing that good news, and they were in town for a statewide convening and at the Opera House, and that went really well, and I heard all kinds of positive feedback about Buckhannon and how much people enjoy our community. So that was all good news that we wanted to share. Let's see, of course, we also had Halloween, and we had a lot of events associated with Halloween, so we shared that and did a slideshow, trunk or treat, and the zombie walk, so people enjoyed those as well. So that was good to get out. Let's see. And we shared VIPS celebrating its 5 years of service to the community. And I also have up the video. Elizabeth, our service scholar, had done a little trailer video from Community and Kindness Day, and this is the full video, so if you'd like to, I can go ahead and play that.
Sure. Roll tape.
Are you going to be able to see better with the lights dim? Or is that okay? So she kind of compiled it by we did the group photos, which Randy was a big help for. And then so she has the group, and then she has the project that they were working on. And so we had a lot of volunteers once again, and we're just thrilled to have everybody out. The weather was beautiful this year, unlike last year. Much warmer and sunny, and so we were able to get a lot of good work done, of course, with the flowers and the parks and everything, some litter cleanups, but they also had groups that helped. The literacy volunteers needed to move some books into their storage area, and so they did move a lot of books for them. They also were helping out at the Buckhannon Manor. Once again, that was a repeat project. They did a couple of good neighbor projects, helping out some community neighbors here that were in need. So it was really a good day. And of course, we finished up again at Jawbone with a big pizza party for everybody. And the group I had, we were over at City Park, and we pulled a bunch of weeds and stilt grass, which is an invasive, out of the woods, and we also helped with the trail work that was going on in the back part of the park. And I think we had somewhere between 100, 120 volunteers again, so had a lot of people come out and help out around the community. Know if we ended up getting photos from the Opportunity House, but they did a river cleanup as well. They pulled 10 to 20 tires out of the river, and even an old dilapidated boat, fishing boat that had just been abandoned in the river. They got that out as well, in addition to, you know, numerous bags of trash. This is the Adopt a Highway group. Which I don't know about this space. They have the new banner this year that we'll be able to reuse each year. And I didn't mention the cemetery, but that group was out doing work at the cemetery again.
The old section.
I believe that's the group with Robin that went up and did some work up at the animal shelter.
Yeah.
They had a tough job out there too. They visited with the cats, but they also did quite a bit of cleaning, and so that was a big help to the animal shelter. Volunteers.
That's a lot of work. With all those books.
Up the stairs, yeah. And that's Vincent Smith, our zoning officer, helping out at the Good Neighbor sites. The other Good Neighbor site. And so besides helping out that individual who might not be able to do it on their own, it also helps the entire neighborhood in that street, you know, have a little better appearance. And then at the end of the day, we dedicated the best bench and had a lot of our best volunteers come out.
I had no idea there was something.
We did 3 takes.
That's
you were
really good
impressive with that
talent.
show.
Yeah, well, that's
Left-handed show.
Yeah, and then our sponsors at the end helped out with giving prizes. Anyone who brought canned goods that were then delivered to the parish house got extra tickets. You got a ticket just for showing up, but then you got extra tickets for the drawing at the end. And we had businesses in town that donated prizes. So a good event again. We're happy to do it and happy to have the participation for sure.
Is that videos on our website? So
It is,
Anybody
yes.
that wants to watch the doofus mayor,
Yeah.
tax
the camera in the middle of the shovel.
tax shovel.
That clip and
I thought he was trying to start that shovel.
I thought,
The motor, yeah, you're right.
Mayor, I thought you was trying to turn the, what do you call it, the pull string on
That's
a,
the way it goes here.
it was a shovel.
Never let up, you know?
That was a great
Thanks,
video.
Callie. Any questions for Callie?
How long ago was
That
it?
one.
She does
Thanks.
work.
Thanks a bunch.
Good job, kiddo.
Next up is Deborah Brockman with Stockard. How's it going, Miss Deborah? It's another big night tomorrow night, huh?
Yes.
We hope this old man can make roast beef tomorrow night, right?
Well, we've been extremely busy as usual, but seems like we've been more busy than in the past few months. We've had basketball and cheerleading signups this month. We'll be having Skills Day at the high school on the 16th. However, I just got a notification today that we may have to change it because something else might be going on. So we can't get that gym built fast enough. Just saying. Our drill team is getting ready for upcoming parades. We had a haunted house on the 25th of October. It was very well attended. We had 166, although we did have a few that backed out on us, so I didn't count those. They were a little too scared to go through it. But we raised $14.96 on admission. The elimination dinner tomorrow night. We do have a few tickets left, not very many, but we do have a few, so if anybody needs any, stop by. After school's going very well, we have average about 51 a day. Tutoring is going very well, but we still need a few more tutors. We've been in contact with the college, and hopefully they're sending us a few. Also, we're going to be losing our tutoring coordinator in the next month or so, so I'm going to have to replace her soon. Over Thanksgiving break, we'll have open gym, and I received notification that I've received notification from Weyerhaeuser, official notification today, that we were selected with their giving program again this year, and we'll be receiving $5,000 in the next week or so. And our youth involvement hours for October was 13,800.
13,800 hours. Is that the most you've ever done?
Yes, it is.
What was the warehouse agreement? 5,000.
It was for 5,000. It's with their community giving. Every spring, organizations can fill out an application. It's sort of like a mini grant. And we were chosen again this year, but more or less from that.
Last year they gave 10,000 towards the building.
Yes.
This year was 5. Questions for Deborah? Thank you, Deborah. We'll see you tomorrow evening. Thanks, Deborah. I get to cut the meat, I'm told, so.
Deborah, the drill team is for, the drill team, is that for the Veterans Day?
All parades, they've been practicing. Hopefully, I was told earlier today they had a lot of illness.
I know, it's going on.
So hopefully
Okay. Jerry Arnold has a stomach bug working on it. He probably didn't want me to give you the sordid details, that's why he's not here, but you know, we're a very transparent group. So hopefully Jerry's feeling better. Finance Director Andy Jenkins. Andy, what you got for us?
We'll get your balances tonight for general fund and the general fund associated type accounts. At the end of October, general fund money market and checking, $1,007,044. Your CDs at $84,557. Municipal stabilization, $513,115. Historic landmark savings account, $3,023. The Stockard Youth Capital Campaign, I didn't give a complete update of that because the elimination dinner is occurring tomorrow, and we've got a lot of revenue in for the month of October, but we've got expenses that I need to take out of that, so I don't want to arbitrarily give you bigger numbers, and then you're going to be disappointed when I come back with a smaller number. So at the end of, as of October the 4th, it was with the pledges, $311,360. I just want to kind of mention, Datamax was here last meeting and did a presentation, and we didn't put that on the agenda this time. We could put it on the next time, but I just want to give you an update of what I had talked to a few other municipalities about it. Council seemed to have some concerns about it, and so I checked on with some other cities to see what kind of issues, if they had any, with them, how it worked out. The communities I talked to said that Datamax is mostly picking up businesses that they wouldn't even think about going after. It's companies, it sounds like wholesale type companies coming into the town, selling or distributing materials within the town, and it's kind of under our radar. The communities I talked to seem pleased with what had happened so far with Datamax. They are getting some revenues. If council would want to consider using them, of course, they explained that for 2 years they're going to get 50% of the revenues. But that they would also qualify for the same exemptions that the other businesses qualify for. So if it's a wholesale retail business, they would have a $1 million exemption before they start paying B&O, and then there's also the tiered system. The rates for retail are different than the rates for wholesale. As of January 1, and I'm reminding everyone, sales tax goes into that January 1, so we're reducing our B&O. It'd be 20 cents per 100 for retail and 10 cents per 100 for wholesale up to that 2.5 million threshold. So I wanted to let you know that. We can put it on the agenda for the next meeting, but that's the information that I have at this time.
Have we received the updated proposal that you asked for?
Yes.
We did.
We did.
And I think Tom has it. I don't know that he has given an opinion on its acceptability, but I think it's going to be fine.
Okay.
And really, that's all I had. I've got some other matters down later in the agenda. Oh, I do need to tell you, on your bills to be approved, scissor lift, $1,800. For the police department, radios, spray, handcuff holders, a vest, and mag pouches, $11,815. Blacktop for Spring Street, $5,456. Concrete for the sidewalk in the Fayette Street area, $2,329. And concrete for Spring Street, $3,271.
Questions for Amy?
Thanks for the report, Amy. Could I ask you to do a favor?
Sure.
Adjust the thermostat a little bit.
I adjusted it
There's some
to
people
cool down
freezing.
because I knew someone was going to holler about being cheap.
Well, there's a lot of people have left, I think.
Yeah.
It's pretty cold up here.
There's still a lot of hot air going on in here.
That's because you can talk too much, Nicole.
Coat on down there. I think it's hot in there.
I think it's all sick.
You think it's hot right
No, I'm just kidding.
You can sit over here under the
It's comfortable.
vent.
I have an electric blanket out my car.
Well, Pam had to put her coat on.
Chief Kimball, bringing us greetings from the fire department.
Good evening again. I'm going to try to be brief as possible. Monthly activities in your packet. We had 116 responses in the month of October. 62% of that activity was within the city limits, 38% out. Year to date, we're over 1,000 responses. 61% in the corporate limits, 39% outside the corporate limits. Of course, last month was fire prevention. We went and visited, or were visited by over 1,200 students, grades kindergarten, pre-K through 5th grade. We actually go to the academy grade school every year and go to each class. That's almost 600 students in one day. We also went to the academy grade school. They have an event every year that we attend and do their pumpkin drop, where their classes try to wrap pumpkins, and we drop them from about 40 feet to see if they bust. So it's a lot of fun with the kids. So last Wednesday, or this past Wednesday, we started the process of updating our eligibility list for career firefighters. It was our practice CPAT test. The practice one, they can come and take it, and if they pass it, that can be their pass. But if they fail it, we'll have the final one on Saturday morning. As you know, the civil service testing process takes a little time. There's a physical agility test and then the written exam and so on and so forth. So we'll be working on that. We have several members. Last year we acquired a drone, which we've used sparingly because we only have one member that was certified to actually use it. We have several members right now, along with 2 DNR officers that are going through the FAA to get certified to operate that drone for emergency use. Something we'll be looking at in the future, maybe next budget year, is a infrared camera for it, for searches and like large structure fires and stuff like that, that we can use it, so we can put it in the air during those operations, so we can put eyes in the sky. I mean, they're being used for about everything around the world now, and they're a very good tool to have. So we have, I believe it's 5 members of our department. Councilman Skinner is one of them. He's a contributing member that's going to be attending our pre-test class that Derek Long won. We have actually 2 pilots in our fire department right now that are certified pilots. And then we have a young man that's going on his GI Bill. He's getting ready to finish his pilot's license. So we will actually have 3 pilots in our fire department. So they're going to be helping these other members become drone certified pilots. So the truck committee is still being active. We're still hoping to have something on paper by January, February. We're looking, Amby and I've talked, there's actually federal contracts, state contracts out there now that you don't really have to go through a bidding process. If those trucks are on the bid sheets in the federal government or the state government, we don't have to spend all the time getting the bid sheets together to send all these companies and get them back, so it saves a lot of time. I'd like to refresh everybody's memories. You should check the batteries in your smoke detector when the time changed. Please do that. 75% of all fire fatalities happen in residents that do not have operating smoke detectors. So please check your smoke detectors.
Good reminder.
The Christmas parade is on the 6th, the first Friday in December. Lineup starts by 5:30 down on Madison Street. It's Christmas. It's all about the kids. That's what we say. Just come have a good time. It's not gonna matter what the weather is. I've been out there when it's 5 degrees and snowing. It's Christmas. Dress appropriately. It'll go on unless we're under a natural disaster. There won't be any questions, and we'll move on. So. Anybody have any?
I like the way you think.
Anybody have any questions? So.
Any questions for JB? Thanks. Tell the guys to be safe.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Okay, Tom O'Neill is, should I give you his medical problem? He's got it in the neck and back, so Tom's out tonight. Correspondence and information, you got a whole bunch of stuff. There's a couple of FOIA requests. There's a proclamation for National Red Ribbon Week. There's the Buckhannon proclamation. There's a proclamation for the Charlie Harper Murals in Traders Alley. There's a proclamation for Alpha Delta Kappa. There's a letter from Chris Sauerwein and the city attorney's response letter to it regarding zoning issues. There's a thank you to the Buckhannon VIPs from Almost Heaven CrossFit. There's the mayor's greetings to the West Virginia Community Development Hub back on October 29. There's the cat and dog activity report from the Upshur County Commission for September. There's the Municipal Home Rule Program 2019 progress report and a copy of the program for the Police Academy graduation commencement of Colin Cope last Friday. The consent agenda actually consists of 4 items. We are not approving the regular meeting minutes of October 17. Randy will have those to us here shortly, but we'll approve both those in tonight at the next meeting. I'd be asking you to approve the consent agenda that consists of the approval of our building and wiring permits, the approval of the payment of the general fund bills, the acceptance of the resignation of Jane Weimer Godwin from the Historic Landmarks Commission, and we can entertain, maybe you guys can give some thought to who we want to appoint in Jane's stead. So I'd entertain a motion that we approve our consent agenda. I have a motion by Mr. Rylands, a second by Mrs. Albaugh. Is there discussion on the motion?
For the appointment, this person does have to reside in the corporate limits, correct?
They did, yes.
And it doesn't matter political party?
No,
Okay.
no. Well, we'd probably rather not have a communist, but you know, we got rights too. Some of my best friends are communists, and they vote. So. Anyway, anything else, Mr. Skinner, before I get in any
You just keep on divulging everything.
That's shovel.
There's no shovel up there. You just keep digging.
There's no further questions. That was the literal and the metaphorical. Yes. I'd entertain a motion. We've already. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Strategic issues for discussion and/or vote. Amby's going to tell us a little bit about a plan change request relative to our employee insurance. And we may, after she highlights this, I'm probably going to recommend to the council that we refer it to our insurance committee for review prior to the next meeting on November 21. Amby?
Okay, so just briefly, without a lot of detail, in our health insurance, for the prescription part of the plan, there's a 30% copay. Well, there's really not a cap on that. And so, this is kind of new, so we're running into a few issues. And one of them, and this doesn't happen often, we would have not a lot of medications that would make us need to put a cap on the prescriptions. But for instance, if you have a prescription that's about $21,000, 30% of that's quite expensive for an employee. So I talked to the insurance company and our agent about it, and they suggested perhaps the city wants to consider putting a cap of maybe $200 on that for the employee for that prescription to kind of ease the employee's part of that. Otherwise, your employee's trying to use, they can use some discount coupons throughout the year, but eventually it comes back that they need to pay $6,000 to $7,000 for this medication. I talked to our agent today. I told him that perhaps council might table this tonight and we could have a discussion with the insurance committee that was appointed with him, possibly over the phone when we schedule that meeting. And he said he'd be glad to help explain it, but that's the gist of it. We're trying to ease the cost of out-of-pocket.
Is there an amount that this costs to modify?
It would be on the back of the city.
I mean, do we know what that amount is?
Well, you got a $21,000 invoice. The insurance will pay 30%. The employee would pay $200, and $6,800 would be the city's part. That prescription, it would depend.
That's if we change.
Pardon?
That's if you change it?
Yes. The employee would pick up the city of Buckhannon would pick up the difference of that.
That 21,000, is that per month or?
About every 2 months.
How many months?
Every 2 months.
Every 2 months.
2
So
months.
they're looking at
Quite a bit.
6,000, 6 months,
Yeah.
6 times 21,000.
Yeah, but your employee doesn't even make that much money, so.
Yeah, but is it a prolonged prescription requirement?
I do not
or
know,
is it-
I couldn't tell you if I did.
No, because a lot of times when you have a drug that expensive, it normally.
It could be that it's a temporary
Yeah,
thing
it's
for
a, it's
a
a,
certain
it's a
amount of
1 to
time.
3 or 4 or 5 or 6 months, but then that's it. Because if that is a situation where the city would be obligated to pay about $100,000 over a year, 1 year period.
I like the suggestion of letting the insurance committee look at this and report back to council. And
I'll make that motion, David.
Okay. I have a motion by Mr. Thomas and a second by Mrs. Albaugh to table this until the next meeting and to convene a meeting of the city insurance committee. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing of the need for none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. We'll take this up, but we'll schedule a meeting for next week. I think we have a meeting maybe Tuesday?
Wednesday at 2 o'clock.
Tuesday or Wednesday? Wednesday? Okay. All right. Property matters. Amby, while you're up there, you want to tell us about that one?
Okay, yes. We, Tom and I, made an observance that in the delinquent tax notice, there's about 3 properties in there that I already have some liens on. They're properties that the property owner isn't keeping up the maintenance on them. Some of the fees are going delinquent on it, and I've placed liens on those 3 properties. Well, our experience in the past with this has not been good on the city's part because the tax sale will take place if they haven't redeemed them. Let me put that in there. And oftentimes, someone else will acquire the property through the tax sale, and of course, they have to wait about 3 years to get a clear deed to it. But in the meantime, we get nothing. It seems like our liens are overlooked. So I asked Tom if it's possible that the city could go to these tax sale and ask to participate and perhaps redeem the taxes. And at least we have a little control there. We may not get it. I mean, maybe property owners redeemed. But if we do, at least we have some control there. We wouldn't lose any money if the taxes are redeemed. That would come back to us. But in the meantime, if they didn't redeem it, and the city would have to sit on it for 3 years, we're mowing some of these properties too, by the way. We're already, because they're not taken care of. I just thought it's in the best interest of the city. At least they have a little control there, and we have a little more leverage on what could happen to that property at some point.
Are there 3 different properties in?
There's 3 that I identified that had.
Are they vacant?
No one's living in them.
Is it your proposal that we bid on the property up to the value of our current lien or in excess of that? Do we have an amount that we can establish as a ceiling on these?
Well, I know it's to redeem those taxes.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure how it works. I would let Tom, I would defer to Tom. We do have, we have some, actually, some of the reason your balance is up a little bit, we've gotten some B&O funds in from contractors B&O, and that's to be going back towards some things like that. So I have some funds in the housing enforcement.
Is it your recommendation that we let you and Mr. O'Neill powwow together about this and determine our best course of strategy and take the appropriate action?
Yes.
Council, are you good with allowing Amby and Tom to work out the details? If anything pops up, we'll be sure to share with council. I'll entertain a motion that we allow Mrs. Jenkins to work with Mr. O'Neill to protect our interests relative to these properties. I have a motion by Pam Bucklew and a second by Mary Albaugh. Is there discussion on that motion?
I got a question. Does housing enforcement get involved in this at all?
No.
No?
No. Well, I mean, it could, independent of this.
Well, I'm just saying, Amby was
Some
saying
of the
that.
properties have been on your radar in housing
We're mowing the
enforcement.
properties and they're not in very good shape and so forth. And I just thought maybe Vince
They've
might.
been on your radar.
For a long time.
Just the kind of properties we want to come to acquire.
Yep.
Any further discussion on the motion? I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. The last strategic item is one that we've all heard about here in recent weeks, and I have a statement to start our discussion. Bear with me, it's more substantial than most of my statements. Our public utility operations are the lifeblood of our city's organization. About 2/3 of our city's annual $13 million in total revenue for all enterprise funds is generated by our utilities. Similarly, about 2/3 of all city employees work for our utility operations, treating sewage, building sewer lines, producing the highest quality potable water in West Virginia, and distributing it throughout Upshur County, and in fact, the parts of several counties around us, as well as collecting garbage throughout most of Upshur County. Buckhannon has been consistently recognized for our excellence in executing these utility functions by the West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection, the Health Department, the Public Service Commission, the DNR, and the West Virginia Rural Water Association. Our city has been in the utility service industry for many decades. Our sanitary board was created in 1957, the waste collection board in 1961, and the water board in 1963. But long prior to those board creation dates, our city had been executing those utility functions for a substantial part of Upshur County. Our city has demonstrated aggressive growth of its utility operations while maintaining and upgrading both our sewer and water plants in a manner designed to add decades of service for our community, seeking to avoid the tens of millions of dollars required to invest in new plants. Our utility supervisors have been excellent stewards of our facilities. The realization of developments around us during the past 20-plus years, Jenkins Ford, Buckhannon Toyota, Walmart, Lowe's, Cambridge Heights, the Cinema 6, the Hampton Inn, Microtel, Harbor Freight, and the new Armory, to name but a few projects, have all been made possible due to our city's investment in its utilities. These entities have created hundreds of jobs for our residents. Buckhannon's utility operations have greatly raised the quality of life for everyone who resides in Upshur County. Our city's utility managers don't feature just years or decades of service to this community, but they have cumulative centuries of service. Sam Ludlow, who earned his master's degree at Cornell University in wastewater management, nearly 50 years. Amby Jenkins, 44 years. Buck Samples, 40-plus years. Kelly Arnold, 30 years. Jerry Arnold, 26 years. And members of this council who have served on our utility boards for many years, including my own, going on 37 years of facilitating utility development. We are a well-seasoned lot who know how to develop utility projects. We employ excellent engineers in Sam Ludlow and Jay Holland, project managers, financial and technologically skilled employees, and are able to discharge all legal facets of utility projects with quality counsel from Tom O'Neill. You might imagine our city officials' collective dismay and outrage, really, to learn just 1 week ago today that the Upshur County Commission had decided to reassign substantial sewer utility territory long belonging to our city to a struggling public service district. Buckhannon was awarded certificates of convenience and necessity back in the mid-1990s from the state of West Virginia to develop utilities in this territory. During the past 25 years, our city utility boards have undertaken 14 projects in this territory, collectively valued at millions of dollars in improvements. To be kind, the action of the County Commission is incredulous and defies rational explanation. To be blunt, it's a slap in the face of our city. At its core, this decision should be seen as universally distrustful by all utility subscribers throughout our Buckhannon-Upshur community. Please indulge me while I offer some further facts for our residents to consider. About 2 years ago, our city officials were contacted about a proposed development on the south side of Route 33 West, out near the J.F. Allen property. J.F. Allen was proposing a huge development with scores of buildings, and of course, they required utilities. City engineer Jay Holland has a copy of their plans in his office. Our excellent city team immediately began to put together numbers to realize the sewer and water extensions on the south side of Route 33 West. A couple of years prior to that, our city had been approached by commercial players about a sewer extension on the north side of 33 West. The north side project for sewer alone was projected to cost $300,000. A year ago, our sanitary board offered to perform the north side project while paying for the first $100,000 of the $300,000 project. The south side project, involving a longer stretch of sewer and water, is more costly. The two projects together, that is north side sewer and south side sewer and water, would well exceed $1 million. Our city has long had its capabilities to execute these projects, but we had to figure out how to pay for them. Buckhannon has constructed miles upon miles of sewer and water lines. On the south side project, in addition to J.F. Allen, the Shaw brothers, who own property on the south side of Route 33 West, came to be involved in discussions to take utilities to their property. They, too, need both sewer and water in order to be able to develop their property. Early on in our conversations with these developers, our city officials explained that there were a couple of different financial models that could be employed to realize the utilities projects. Recently, Buckhannon introduced a third financial model to undertake these utility projects. Model number one similar to that which had been utilized in the Lowe's project back in the early 2000s, would require annexation of the properties to be served with the city's general fund underwriting the utility costs. It's important to understand that by law, in order for the general fund to participate in a utility project, the project must be occurring within the corporate limits. We simply cannot place financial burdens upon our Buckhannon residents to undertake improvements beyond our city limits. That restriction does not necessarily apply to utility boards, provided those utilities are acting within their territorial designations. Model number 2 would require financial participation from the benefiting parties, a passing of the hat, if you will, similar to projects previously undertaken along Brushy Fork Road. Our utility boards using this method have completed successful utility projects through partnerships with St. Joseph's Hospital, that is Hampton Inn, Mike Ross, C.J. Martin, John Jenkins, Bill Minsker, and others who financially supported utility extensions to serve their properties situated outside of our corporate limits. We are in the final phase of a sewer project with C.J. Martin right now, out along Brushy Fork Road. Model 3 is a utility surcharge model, whereby the utility boards would finance upfront the cost of the project while imposing regular sewer fees together with a surcharge fee to pay for the project over 20 or so years. This model has been utilized for the past 20 years along the Brushy Fork Road for sewer and is on the cusp of retirement as the project has nearly been paid for by our Brushy Fork customers. It's important to underscore the reality of all utility projects, all of which require funding. Buckhannon's 3 models have all been implemented successfully through these partnered methods, whereby the utility shares in the expense of executing projects, collaborating with developers. The project manager for J.F. Allen suddenly left the company about a year and a half ago, and project discussions stalled. Our conversations with the previous project manager had proven productive, and we were optimistic that our utility boards could come to terms on these utility projects with these substantial developers. In June of 2019, city architect Bryson Van Nostrand offered to contact J.F. Allen's president, Greg Hadgis, to jumpstart project discussions. During the 1st of July, the primary players returned to the negotiation table at City Hall to discuss ways to move the utility projects forward. About this same time, and then unbeknownst to our city officials, County Commissioner Terry Cutright broached the Tennerton Public Service District about the PSD's ability to deliver sewer service to the project area. We believe a similar overture was made toward the Hodgesville Public Service District about the opportunity to deliver water to the project area. Commissioner Cutright sought to broker deals with the PSDs in defiance of utility territory long assigned to Buckhannon. Both the Tennerton for Sewer Public Service District and the Hodgesville for Water Public Service District are managed by Terry Gould. Mr. Gould has confirmed the overtures made by Commissioner Cutright, and his visits with Mr. Gould are reflected in the Tennerton PSD's minutes received by our city. It's important to understand that Commissioner Cutright is one of the 3 judges who last Thursday moved to take Buckhannon's utility territory and reassign it to the Tennerton Public Service District. City officials have come to understand that Mr. Cutright solicited Tennerton PSD's involvement in this matter. As an aside to the Route 33 West utility projects, both the Tennerton and Hodgesville Public Service Districts became substantially delinquent in their monthly payments owed to our city for sewage treatment or providing water, and were on the cusp of financial collapse just a year ago. Mr. Gould advised city officials and our utility boards that if Buckhannon pressed the PSDs for payment, he would be forced to file for bankruptcy protection, and our utility boards may receive nothing while being saddled by the Public Service Commission with assuming operation of these challenged PSD utilities. The West Virginia Public Service Commission was drawn into these matters and strongly urged our utility boards to forgive tens of thousands of dollars in interest and late fees owed to the city by both the Tennerton and Hodgesville PSDs. our utility boards acquiesced to the Public Service Commission's request, still leaving principal delinquencies exceeding $100,000 owed by each public service district to our city. Our city utility operations were moderately impacted by these substantial public service district delinquencies and non-payments. Our utility operations are completely reliant on customers actually paying their utility bills. Unlike regular utility customers, our city is prohibited from discontinuing utility service to public service districts while awaiting payment. Substantial delinquencies involving these PSDs still persist today. A month ago, our city, through a Freedom of Information Act request, sought financial information from both public service districts, yet, in defiance of state statutes, we have received none of the requested information that is vital to our utility planning and to being responsive to the pending attempt to remove territory from Buckhannon's utilities base. Additionally, the city for years has been vigilant in insisting that I&I issues, that stands for inflow and infiltration, or sometimes called extraneous flow, needed to be addressed in the Tennerton's decades-old system. Similarly, the Hodgesville Public Service District experienced immense water loss in a decrepit system where for every gallon of water delivered, a half gallon ends up leaking into the ground. Both public service districts currently have substantial financial and performance challenges. The Upshur County Commission is well aware of those challenges. Our sewer plant has a maximum capacity and cannot treat millions of gallons of stormwater every time it rains. Buckhannon has invested considerable sums to reduce our own I&I. State and federal oversight agencies require us to minimize extraneous flow. Our water plant similarly has limits when it comes to producing potable water for our residents and businesses countywide. We do not have an infinite supply of potable water, and during low water flow or drought, as was experienced just last month, it becomes even more critical to protect our precious, limited water supply. The major water leak that persisted for about 2 weeks along the north side of Route 33 West last month during a drought alert exemplifies the physical plant challenges of the Hodgesville Public Service District water system and was the most recent frustration befalling our city. The precious water that seeped into the ground was produced by Buckhannon's water plant. For years, Buckhannon has been insistent with all public service districts that our utility boards need to regularly receive meeting minutes, agendas, and financial reports from all of our utility partners. Buckhannon liberally and regularly shares all of such documents. It's important to understand that public service districts are created by county commissions and are statutorily subject to county oversight. Minutes and agendas of all PSD meetings are required to be regularly filed with the County Commission. Annual financial reports are required to be filed with both the County Commission and the West Virginia Public Service Commission. Yet year after year, the Tennerton and Hodgesville Public Service Districts defy state statutes and administrative rules and regulations and fail to file these mandatory reports. When pressed by the city for minutes a few months ago, Mr. Gould advised the city that we could FOIA the Public Service District minutes and other documents. These two PSDs are the very entities Commissioner Cutright solicited this summer to replace Buckhannon as the utility providers along Route 33 West. Following the early July meeting with the Route 33 developers, I provided later on in July directly to Greg Hadges, at his request, copies of our city ordinances involving B&O taxation so that his company could better evaluate the annexation model. Discussions ensued about city officials appearing before a JFL and board meeting to explain possible financing of the utility projects. Apparently, at some point, Commissioner Cutright introduced Mr. Gould to these developers. Thrasher Engineering then was engaged by the Tennerton Public Service District. In September, city officials were stunned to learn that a meeting before the County Commission to discuss removing utility territory of Buckhannon was scheduled. Buckhannon officials were not invited to participate in this meeting. The 33 West developers had forged an alliance with Commissioner Cutright and the Tennerton Public Service District. This was all occurring while Buckhannon awaited the developers' response to our city's overtures in early July. The Tennerton Public Service District has presented a $5.6 million proposal to take sewer to 150 or so properties on the western side of Route 33. During the past month, Buckhannon surveyed all of the residential property owners who comprise the vast majority of the 150 or so customers and determined that only 24% of the residential property owners desire public sewer service. These residents, if assigned to Tennerton PSD, will be required to participate in public sewer, despite many of them having invested thousands of dollars in their own septic or aerator systems. It's upon the backs of these residents that the overwhelming majority of debt will be serviced to realize sewer for the Route 33 West commercial developers. All three of Buckhannon's financial model proposals are fair and equitable, with appropriate contributions expected from all benefiting parties who seek these utility services. Buckhannon has not sought to further burden either the current or potential residential utility customers with the expense of these commercially motivated projects. Understand that if Tennerton PSD undertakes this project, that not only will the 150 customers who are not now utility customers will be required to participate in paying for the developer's project, but so too will the 891 current Tennerton PSD sewer customers will see their sewer rates substantially increase to pay for this project too. Buckhannon has conducted itself ethically, transparently, and with integrity throughout the pendency of this matter. No cause has been shown to remove Buckhannon of its utility territory. Buckhannon is able to complete these projects in a fraction of the time expected by Tennerton PSD to deliver sewer service and much more affordably. Our sanitary board has gone on record that it can achieve completion of the North Side Sewer Project during the 2020 construction season and the South Side Sewer and Water projects during the 2021 construction season. The earliest that a Tennerton Sewer project could commence is estimated in 2023. This evening, I request that our City Council take a formal position to vigorously support the anticipated actions of our sanitary board and possibly our water board, if necessary, to protect their respective utility territory rights along Route 33 West and to challenge this decision by the County Commission before a final court, if necessary. These actions could very well involve both litigation involving local entities and administrative action before the West Virginia Public Service Commission. I believe that it is imperative that Buckhannon first and foremost protect and preserve its utility territory. Buckhannon must have room to grow and expand. Last week's action by the County Commission was unfounded, arbitrary, and capricious, and erects a wall around our city that will inhibit Buckhannon's opportunity to grow. There has been absolutely no showing of cause supporting any possible conclusion that our city utility boards cannot complete the projects along Route 33 West or any other place for that matter. The seminal question in reassigning utility territory has to be a supported finding that the entity from whom the territory is proposed to be taken cannot perform the work. We are all mindful of the investments made by those who came before us to realize these utility opportunities. J.D. Hinkle Jr., Binky Poundstone, Harley Brown, Bill Short, Tony Gum, and many others. Our residents have come to expect and deserve our very best. We have some of our excellent team members present this evening, and I know they will be happy to address questions. Let us stand strong together to assure that Buckhannon utility territory remains Buckhannon's utility territory.
Excellent narrative, David. It really puts out the information that's needed by our community. And I would suggest that we send a certified copy of that to every county commissioner, along with Kerry Wallace.
That's a start.
They'll hear about it. Yeah, but I think they ought to see it. And I can say some things, but I need to go into executive session, because I know a little bit more than some other people might know. I want to share it.
Well, we would be discussing potential litigation, so we can do that. But does any of the other council want to be heard publicly on the matter before we consider adjournment into an executive session?
I support you 100%.
I attended both meetings at the county commission, and the second meeting I was appalled and surprised to learn of the action that was about to be taken without any, as far as I know, any consideration of the current utility customers in the Tenderton PSD. I mean, they're going to be surprised about this. And I just hope if it comes to the point where there is a public meeting, that everybody and every customer, all 851 or so that you mentioned, is notified and given an opportunity to express their opinion as to whether or not they want to help finance this project, largely for commercial developers.
I can also say I've been on the council for 15 years, and I know that many times we have requested from Mr. Gould information, and he refuses to supply it to us. I mean, in my opinion, he's professionally negligent to the customers that he's supposed to serve.
Any other comments at this time, council?
Well, I too attended both meetings. And you know, I spoke with 2 county commissioners privately about this matter. The first meeting we attended was, as Tom O'Neill said, was for us to listen. We weren't asked to provide anything. This was looked at as kind of information only. But we ended up with Jay Holland and Jerry Arnold and Sam Ludlow providing a good bit of information at that first October 3rd meeting. And then the pencil was to be sharpened for us to look at a proposal of both north and south side of Route 33 to have that part of the equation as far as development. And in between those 2 meetings, I spoke with 2 county commissioners explaining to them what was at stake here for us, why this was important for us, and why this was important for the people that live in the Tenderton and Hodgesville PSD areas that would not have to bear the brunt of this if we were the ones to take on this project. Both commissioners seem to understand, and one in particular I had 2 different conversations with, and they were I thought they got it. Really thought they got it. That meeting last week, the muscles were they were trying to flex their muscles, and you know, I'm left like everybody else, extremely disappointed, and that's nicely put. And you know, after reading this along with you, I think it's excellent, and if it's a motion you're looking forward to bring this into fruition, I'll be happy to do it.
Are you making a motion, Mr. Skinner?
I am.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Mr. Skinner, and I have a second by Mr. Thomas to stand behind our sanitary and water boards and to take all action necessary, legal and administrative, to protect our city's utility territorial rights.
I want to announce that I am on the water board, so is Roddy.
Mm-hmm. And I am chair of both the water and sanitary boards. And
You're on the board, Rick. You're on.
Mrs. Albaugh on waste collection, Mrs. Bucklow, Mr. Rylands are on consolidated, and Mr. Sanders is the ex officio secretary and recorder for all of our utility boards. So we all, every single member of this council serves on a utility board.
It was point blank asked at the last meeting if Hodgesville PSD could adequately supply the amount of water needed for fire flow. The answer was no. the Hodgesville PSD and Thrasher Engineering answered that question with a no. Yet the vote was still to allow that PSD as well as Tennerton to be a part of that development and not the city of Buckhannon.
Right. I think we have public service districts that don't share information, financial or otherwise, and they haven't shown a capacity to manage or maintain their system, and yet we're going to invest, or the government, federal government, through a grant, $5 million to expand something that isn't working already. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
I think if also this goes to court, we'll see some, I believe, in my opinion, some conflicts of interest that haven't been shared yet.
Well, it's also them, these public service districts owing us, carrying a debt of $200,000. When we had to raise our rates, part of that raise was reflected in having to carry this debt load.
Exactly.
And so city customers are paying slightly higher fees to carry the burden of this debt from the public service districts.
What does county commission have to gain with all this? I mean, what's the driver?
You'll have to ask them that question.
Perplexing.
I think this is one of the reasons that many areas ought to be metro government, so you don't have all these government officials.
Let's not cloud that.
I'm not going to cloud that.
Were all three commissioners in favor of doing it?
Two.
Yes.
Two. I thought 2 out of 3 were.
No, I specifically asked the third, and they were all for it.
Well, I think they wanted to bring it before, so to have a public meeting and to air this out in public, but
Like, they think that they saw it as just moving it forward. That was the quote that I was given to them.
Right. If they wanted to move it forward, they'd have done some other things.
Well, and let's keep in mind too that at that meeting there were 4 or 5 commercial property owners at both meetings. There were 4 or 5 commercial property owners present that are basically requesting what the county commission took action on. The county commission has not heard from the hundreds of folks that live in Tennerton and Hodgesville that will be affected by this. That part of the equation was not given because the only folks really at those meetings were the commercial, those with commercial interests.
And neither were we considered, not once in that equation.
Well, primarily, much of the information they have received is from Mr. Gold. Mr. Gold, and he hasn't provided us the information that we have requested repeatedly for years. So it's dumbfounding to me, and I have shared this with, unfortunately, I did it last May or June after a water board meeting when I heard that our indebtedness, their indebtedness to us, both Hodgesville and Tennerton, was approaching $200,000. And I asked some of the county commissioners, do you know the financial results of those 2 areas? And they said no. I said, we should request this. You should request this. Do you know how much Mr. Gould is being paid for doing what he's doing? They have no idea. And I think it's negligent, personally. That's my opinion.
I shared with one of the county commissioners a hard copy of what Amby and I looked at, and she printed off for me in her office a report, and it's a very long report, but she went right to the page that shows the water lossage of the Hodgesville PSD. And when I met with the commissioners, 2 of them, I gave that copy to the commissioner and showed them where nearly almost 50% of the water, the treated water in the Hodgesville PSD is hitting the ground before it even hits a tap. And that was what they were seemingly want to reward.
Yeah,
they wanted to reward the bad behavior.
Those type of systems that are currently not maintained properly, and so it doesn't make a lot of practical sense. But.
Well, I don't relish seeing our city enter into a legal fray with our colleagues at the other end of this street. But we cannot allow this action to stand. And We have to defend ourselves, and we have to assert our position, and we most certainly will do that. There is a motion on the table. Is there any further discussion? If not, I'm going to call for the question. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. The minutes will reflect, and I'm going to poll the council. Mrs. Albaugh, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Skinner?
Yes.
Mr. Sanders?
Yes.
Mr. Rylands?
Yes.
Mrs. Bucklew?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
I'm the oldest council member, yes.
And the mayor votes yes. The minutes will reflect that there was a roll call vote on this motion, and it was unanimously passed by this council. Our utility boards will be very thankful for the council's support. Let's move down to comments and announcements. Mrs. Albaugh, what else do you have this evening?
I don't know if I want to say anything after all that. I'll try to be nice. I know I'm got to change gears. Veterans Day is Monday coming. Rain, sleet, or snow, we're having a parade, okay? Bundle up, come out. If you're a veteran, you can't walk, we're gonna have a nice little wagon.
And where is the parade, Mary?
Right here on Main Street. It starts at Sedgwick Street, same place it's been going on for the past 20 years.
Just to see it.
Good to get that out.
But now it's gonna end over in Jawbone Park, where it's always. And then we're having a special program at Walk of Valor for the veterans, because it's Veterans Day. So bundle up, all you kids that goes to Westland, you're gonna be right here, I'm gonna be looking for you. Okay? And I might see you later too, so, after the parade.
The bark is worse than the bite.
What?
What's the activity?
The Veterans Day Parade.
And I'm bringing greetings. If you wanted a half-hour speech, is that right, Mary?
No.
2 minutes.
No, you get 2 minutes, David, 2 minutes.
Turns the mic off after 2 minutes. Is there anything else, Mary?
Parade lineups at 8:30. The parade, the lineup's 8:30. We will start at 9 o'clock. And
Rain or shine.
rain or shine, sleet or snow, and we're gonna have a parade, and here we go.
Dennis, quick question.
Is it gonna go down Chantry Street again or down Canal Street this time?
It's the same as last year, whatever the name of that road is right now.
It's going
I
down
might have
Chantry.
to stop down by the county commission's meeting place and see what the name of that street is.
Chantry.
That one, that's it.
So all ball Veterans Day.
Mrs. Buckhannon.
It's the American Legion and the VFW combined.
Pam, what do you have for
I
us?
just wanted to reiterate what Callie said, that we're going to have a downtown decorating competition for the businesses, and the theme is Adventure in Toyland. We're going to have forms. Hopefully going to be able to walk them down and give them individually to the businesses, but I am going to have some here at City Hall also to be picked up. Our Stockard Youth Center elimination dinner is tomorrow evening, and that money is going toward, hopefully, we want to build that building. We need it desperately for the kids in this county. The food's delicious. CJ and his people are doing the food, and not just saying this, but you can cut the meat with a fork. It's absolutely delicious. We'll be doing auctions. We will be doing, we'll be doing auctions. Mr. Sanders is going to be our auctioneer.
Give it to what I meant.
And we're doing tips and everything else.
50-50.
50-50, yes.
Gambling.
Did you give me my ticket?
Yes, I did.
What else, Pam?
And I also want to put out there that the Strawberry Festival is having an elimination dinner next Saturday. And they're needing money, raising funds for the Strawberry Festival. And like you
Where's
said,
that going to be held?
it's out there also. It's out there at the Brushwood Center also.
What time?
I'm not sure. I don't
Probably,
know that.
probably about the same time, about
Like
5
you
o'clock.
said, we're all in
5
this
o'clock?
together, like you said, Mayor, and that we have to support the
Who's
Strawberry
doing-
Festival
who's doing the
too.
dinner at?
The food's gonna be done by the college, the Latin. And that's all I have for right now.
Mr. Rylands, what do you have for us?
Well, in addition, on Monday, Labor Day, we have a group of 24 Harvard MBA students coming with the Secretary of State's office to town. They'll be here at 8 o'clock in the morning for a community conversation with members of Create Buckhannon and the community, trying to ask us about citizen-driven community development and the strategies and techniques employed by some of our grassroots organizations to help on the path of ascension of the city of Buckhannon. So we've had a lot of people from other places visiting our community, and we're getting a lot of positive feedback. So it never hurts to just keep inviting people, and now to be able to show them, you know, what's going on. There'll be an hour meeting in the Opera House, and then we break up with citizen. A citizen takes 3 or 4 students, watches the Veterans Day Parade, walks down to Jawbone Park, and then back up, maybe stopping some businesses that are open at that time of day, and then they, 10 o'clock, they take off. But I think we...
I thought we were doing the businesses then, Jawbone.
Well, how are you going to fit it in there, Steve-O?
Hard.
So it's all positive, and I think that we'll do the best to make this a great Veterans Day.
Super. Anything else?
That's it.
Mr. Robert Enskett.
Well, thank you, Mayor. Last thing I'll say about the last week's meeting, you know, our jobs here as governmental bodies in this community are to do the right thing to advance a community forward. From a bricks and mortar standpoint, that is our job. And I believe wholeheartedly that if the county commission needed something from us, that we would welcome them with open arms and to do anything we possibly could to work together to advance the community, as we would with folks from the college, the school system. And the fact that we went to the county commission and we were treated like second-class citizens, and we're elected officials who are responsible for growing the community. I think it's more than sad. It's really despicable. So I look forward to seeing where this goes. And you know, you and I, we've not always seen eye to eye on things, but this letter is tremendous, and I liked every word you said. So I thank you for taking the time to put this in writing.
Took an hour or two.
To read it.
Had to cancel a few classes.
These are my friends. That's what the other folks think. Mr. Thomas, what do you have for us?
Well, I'll probably stick my foot in my mouth a couple times, but that's okay. First of all, David, I said the letter is excellent. Great job. And I also wish the elimination dinner tomorrow with Stalker success. I think last year we raised quite a bit of money, and we need to continue to do that. And I think we'll be successful in that capital campaign. I also want to announce that in January, there's going to be another spelling bee, which supports the arts and scholarships and so forth for Upshur County, and that's really very important. And I'll be calling individuals and businesses to, the table's $100. And last year I sponsored the police department and the fire department. I'll do it again. I love to see the sheriff's department get involved and some other governmental agencies. The Board of Education, I think, bought 5 tables last year. I never was going to say this in public.
Here we go.
Yeah. Don't say it, David.
Well, I'm going to, because we have a lot of newspapers here, and some. If you ever want to be an investigative reporter, one of the things we have in our country is I think there's a huge civil divisiveness in this country today. It's very unfortunate. But I would like to see investigative reporters take a look at what municipalities pay their councils and their mayors and their city recorders, and make a comparison to what county commissioners make. it would be appalling to anybody with common sense. I'll not state the figures because I think the reporters ought to find out for themselves. And it's something that ought to be done at the state level, because the legislature gives the county commissioners increases, and they do it X amount of years. But the point is, look at the populations the county serve and how much the commissioners make, and the counties are different. Not every county member is making the same as another county member in a different county. But it's time that we as citizens start standing up for what's right. And when CJ talks about the MBA 20 students coming in here, that's because there's many, many citizens in this county that have made a huge difference for Upshur County, but especially Buckhannon. And I appreciate the work that many of the people in Create Buckhannon has done, and other individuals that do things that many of us don't know about, but it's very positive for us. Thanks.
Thanks, Mr. Thomas. Mr. Sanders.
I'm going to concentrate on the Stockard Youth Center Illumination Dinner tomorrow. I have been invited to MC and attempt to be the auctioneer. So I hope many of you here and those of you watching by television will be in attendance. We're going to raise a lot of money when it comes to bidding on items and making those silent bids. Remember, it's for the kids. I want you to think about it. CJ, pray about it. And decide to dig into your pockets deep and put the money where it can do the most. So we'll see you tomorrow. I'll be there live and in person at the Stockard.
Sounds like you're warming your voice up.
Why don't you give us a Ralph's Furniture commercial just to
What time are you going to start auctioning things off?
Whenever they tell me to start auctioning things off. This is my first time. We're going to be at 5 o'clock for the meet and greet.
That's the social hour.
Social hour. And I'm going to get you juiced up.
You're going to take care of me then?
We're going to twit it a bit. Here we go. So, come join us tomorrow. Come join us.
Ditto on Stockard, please come out, spend some money. Let's help us get that building built. And let's not forget our veterans. Next Monday is their, every day should be their day, but Monday is the extra special. That's all I have. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming out. I entertain a motion, we adjourn.